Gabriel, Head of Interior Design Department at OMRANIA by EGIS, Ralf Steinhauer, Global Hospitality Director at RSAP, Tim Martin, Managing Director and Principal at Gensler, Middle East. My name is Alaa, and I would like to welcome everyone to today's panel discussion on topic that lies at the heart of both cultural and architectural debates. Preservation versus modernization, breaking even with the past and the future. As societies evolve, the tension between innovation and preserving legacy of the past and embracing the innovation of the future become ever more pronounced. How do we strike a balance between retaining the values, memories, and craftsmanship of historic structure, practices, and tradition, while also accommodating technology and the needs of future generations? This conversation brings into question what should preserve and what should be omitted. Is there a place for both words? And how do we ensure that the past is not erased? Our distinguished panelists today highlight in their presentations these questions, offering insights from a range of fields: architecture, interior design, urban planning, to help us navigate this delicate balancing act. I would like to leave for each presenter to introduce themselves. So we will start with you, Gabriel.
Okay, Alaa, thank you very much. As I said before, it's a pleasure being here. I'm an architect by education, but working in the interior design field for the last more than 20 years. And I am the director of the interior design department at OMRANIA by EGIS right now. I'm from Spain, and this is my second season in the country because I was living here between 2010 and 14, and I came back 2 years ago. So I could see the change and this huge transformation that the country is going through. I was in shock. I was impacted when I came back in 2022, but we can talk later about that.
Sure. Ralf, thank you.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Ralf Steinhauer. I'm an architect. I head up the Global Hospitality Initiatives for RSP. I live in Dubai for almost 20 years and very embedded into the region. Had the opportunity to come to Jeddah the first time in 2012, and for the last 6 years I've been almost monthly traveling to the kingdom, and I've seen the transformation of especially Riyadh, and hopefully I will be able to see more places of this wonderful country in the upcoming months and years. And I'm very, very happy to be here this morning to discuss this amazing topic with you.
Pleasure.
Sure, good morning again, Tim Martin. So I'm Principal and Managing Director of Gensler in the Middle East, and sort of my role is really to be, as I was saying in the beginning of the presentation, working with a large global firm and able to bring some of that expertise and knowledge and research to the region, but not necessarily, bringing that in and forcing upon it. It's really listening to the local voice here, the culture here, and building the local team here. We're around about 130 people now to embrace whatever the future brings for the kingdom and the Middle East.
Pleasure to be among you all. And I'm Alaa, a designer, design educator. Studied globally interior design, architecture, design and planning, and graphic design, and practicing here in Saudi Arabia. So have you witnessed any changes in design needs in Saudi Arabia for the past few years?
Yes, as I said, this is the second season in the country. I could see the big change that the country went through. I found, and I think this transformation also had an impact in the mindset of the people, and this is reflected in the design, of course, and also because the government, the support of the government to the traditional styles, that is because many people said it's a trend in Saudi Arabia now to go with the traditional styles. But okay, we have to understand how to use these traditional styles because we are in oh my God, this micro. We are in 2025 and we have the technology, we have to live as in 2025, right? But yes, so it's absolutely important to take the essential from the traditional style in our current designs.
True. I see that the changes have become, especially with the interdisciplinary design that's happening between, we were highlighting about the past and the future, and also the interdisciplinary of design, and nowadays the technology that's happening as well.
Yeah.
Is there a balance between modern, cutting-edge, past and future, and preservation, and future trends? Do you think we're doing any balance here in design? And how is our role as designers in giga projects globally, and especially in the Middle East, and we're talking specifically in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I think, from my view, it's probably really about this innovation with respect, but innovation with purpose as well. I think, a lot of it, we can do lots of new things, but really, is there a reason behind that, and what's the strategy behind that? Where's it really come from? And again, you need to understand that cultural context. We've got to sort of learn. We need to understand and really embrace that. So I think there is a great balance that can be had, and I think you can do some great cutting edge things, but we've really got to look at this from a whole sort of team, from a whole, as you say, multidisciplinary team.
And also sustainability, Ralf, you mentioned sustainability, and it's not only something that's trendy, it's a must in design. Can you elaborate on that more, please?
Well, as an industry, I think we are responsible for about 40% of the global carbon emissions. So I think it is something that, as Tim said, it's non-negotiable. It's something that has to be implemented as a must, but also it has to come naturally. And I think that this is a lot about education. It's a lot about sitting together and synergizing in the industry when it comes from design to all the people here in the room that are having amazing products that help us designers to implement sustainable measures, but then it also through the contracting arms of also some of the people that are here, that we can actually then on-site ensure that things are done in a sustainable fashion. And I think that it's quite interesting, because I said this in the talk, that for me sustainability was always there. It's just that we have stopped building sustainable probably in the last 100 years for whatever reasons, but I think local architecture was always sustainable because it was done with local materials. It was responding to the local climate, to the local conditions. And I think that this is something we really have to embrace a lot more to understand where do we build a building and what is the orientation of the building, what is the heat gain, how can we ensure that we don't use too much energy to maybe cool or heat a building and give a nice environment. And I think only in the very recent times we have actually understood what an impact buildings have on well-being, and this is something that we, I think, need to discover more and put a big emphasis on, because we all living in built environments all the time, even at home or in the office or in a beautiful hotel like we're in today. I think it's really important that we understand that.
Exactly, that's what we keep telling our young designers. Sustainability is not a trend. It's an embedded fact that needs to happen from start to end.
I think there's a lot of sort of talk that's happened around it, but right now is the time to take action. I think also there's, from government and private developers, there needs to be some sort of real commitment and pledge to, take that initial conversation through when we're designing to make that go through the whole development and beyond, the whole recycling of an entire building.
True. So Gensler have been a strong advocate for the 20-minute city. Can you tell us more about it?
We have, and looking at it again, it's been based on a lot of research around the globe. At Gensler we like to measure everything we do, and it really goes back to this human-centric design. It's about adapting to the needs of the people using the spaces. And it's applying the principles of the past as much as it's applying any principles of the future. You look at old communities, the gathering spaces, and the way of life then and now. It's not necessarily a new concept, but it's really embracing where we are now as a society and how we can get that approach and kind of reduce some of the urban sprawl. I think there's some really great success factors where creating this sense of place, creating this community where people want to be, and having things at your fingertips really kind of works well. And ultimately, it's about that sense of belonging. People really want to be somewhere where they can feel part of that infrastructure, that fabric, and have their piece.
True. It's a very interesting also labeling to call it the 20-minute city.
Yes. Yeah. No, look, so the 20-minute city, again, that's been really looking at how you put this innovation into place using the current technologies, but also looking at what those future technologies are. There's living in the UK for a long time, there's a conversation about having a long commute, and is that actually good for a mental health piece versus somewhere where we are in the Middle East, where actually having these closer communities, particularly in closer spaces in the warmer months, is actually enhancing that mental health and that exercise and encouraging people to move more. It may not be long distance, but it's moving more.
Very interesting. So, Gabriel, you talked about the understanding the main elements of design composition, especially in the lens of preservation.
Yes.
Can you summarize it for us?
Well, that when we are including the culture, the tradition, style in our designs, we have to be very careful, right? Because we can end up with a pastiche. And that is not what the intention. So I show one of the slides was part of a study that we are currently doing in the company for one project, where we are working also with one heritage specialist to advise us about the styles. And yes, there's parameters that we apply in design globally, right? So the principles of designs are the same here in Saudi Arabia and in Spain. But there are specific ones when we are discussing about, for example, the introversion, right? That has a big impact here. It's very important in the Saudi culture. So the houses are looking inside with the patio in the center as a heart of the. So this kind of analysis of the element, the volumes, etc. It's the most important. But I would say that I would like to repeat that we are in 2025 almost, and we cannot make a replica of the past. We have to try to take the essential.
That's a great summary. Thank you. So, audience, can I have your attention? Now we will talk about the final takeaway. In just 30 seconds, can you please each respected speaker with us? In 30 seconds, given how creativity brings out the best of both worlds, modern and vintage, local and global, past and future, how can you ensure that the process of modernization does not erase the essence of the past, but instead finds the way to honor and integrate it meaningfully for a future generation?
and you want us in 30 seconds
In
to
30
respond, please?
seconds, each speaker, that's the challenge.
One word.
Look, I think it's a big question, but it's really about now designing and with purpose. It's about thinking with intent, and again, bringing it back to what the future as us as humans are really looking for. There's so much that can be learnt from the past and everything we should embrace in the past. But as I kind of said earlier, we're moving into a different phase. In 100 years, 200, 300 years' time, we're going to be looking back at this phase, and I think we have the opportunity now to really start creating what the new history will be.
Great. Thank you.
I think architecture is really simple because it's based on principles. And I think the kingdom is doing an amazing job by having principles for Salmani architecture, for example. It's the heritage of this country. It brings together the best of both worlds. And it helps us with these principles to design something that honors the past, but it doesn't become gimmicky or a theme park-like architecture that is a replica that kind of has an association with it. But I think it helps us to form the next generation of buildings and something that hopefully in 100 or 200 years will be preserved and the new heritage of this country.
Thank you. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, panelists. It's been insightful, meaningful, and fun learning about all the great projects that you're each doing globally and locally.
We're going to do a quiz later. All the people that are talking in the back, they will have 10 questions, and hopefully they can all answer them.
We will put it in a barcode for them to fill. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.